Today's AI and cybersecurity briefing starts with 3 practical risks: a critical UniFi Protect AI Key privilege escalation, an mcp-fetch tool SSRF bypass that can bring private responses into a model context, and a Mage AI file read issue where a viewer can reach files outside the project boundary. The takeaway is simple: AI systems are now infrastructure, so patching, network isolation, and egress controls matter as much as model choice. First, the highest severity item in today's set is CVE-2026-80347, an improper access control vulnerability in UniFi Protect AI Key. NVD lists a CVSS 3.1 score of 9.8 critical. The confirmed public description is concise: a malicious actor with network access could exploit the issue to escalate privileges on the device. Ubiquiti Security Advisory Bulletin 067 is the vendor source to follow for fixed versions and deployment guidance. This matters because AI-enabled cameras and appliance-style edge devices often sit close to sensitive physical spaces, internal networks, and administrator workflows. If an attacker can reach the device network and escalate privileges, the risk is not theoretical IT housekeeping. It can affect video systems, device integrity, and operational availability. The defensive move is to apply the vendor update, restrict management interfaces to trusted networks, block unnecessary inbound access, and check logs for suspicious administration activity around the patch window. Second, CVE 2026-80347 affects mcp-fetch through version 1.6.3. NVD rates at 8.7 high under CVSS 4.0. The core issue is a server-side request forgery guard bypass involving bracketed IPv6 literals. In plain English, the tool checks whether a fetch target is safe, but a bracketed address can slip past the private address logic, while the HTTP client later strips the brackets and connects. NVD and vulncheck describe that IPv4 mapped forms can reach targets the loopback and private checks were meant to exclude, including link local metadata endpoints. The fetch target is supplied as a tool argument, so if an attacker can influence what the model requests, internal responses may be pulled back into the model context. For builders, this is the story to remember: an AI agent tool is not just a library call. It is a network-capable component sitting between natural language instructions and your internal services. Patch or remove affected mcp-fetch deployments, but also add defense in depth. Block access to cloud metadata endpoints unless explicitly required. Deny private network egress for generic fetch tools. Route tool traffic through an allow listing proxy. Log destination IPs after DNS resolution, not only the original text supplied to the model. And treat prompt injection as one possible input source, not as the whole vulnerability. Even well-intentioned users can paste hostile content that causes an agent to request something it should never fetch. Third, CVE 2026-81030 affects Mage AI through 0.9.79. The MVD description says Mage AI does not confine paths accepted by its browser items API to the project directory. A user with a viewer role, which should grant read access inside the project and not outside it, can read any file the server process can read by supplying an absolute path. CVSS 4.0 is listed as 7.1 high. The useful lesson here is role design. If a viewer role can indirectly read server files, secrets and environment files, service account material, notebooks, local config, or application logs may become exposed. Until a fixed version or validated patch is deployed, avoid exposing Mage AI to untrusted users, review who has viewer access, isolate the process from secrets, and run the service with a user account that cannot read more than the project requires. Fourth, 2 related WordPress plugin issues affect AI Engine before 3.7.2. CVE 2026-75797 is a high-severity file read and exfiltration path. NVD says the plugin does not confine a caller-supplied URL when mapping it to a local file system path before reading a file and forwarding contents to an external service. Reaching the issue at subscriber level requires a non-default public API feature to be enabled, otherwise, the same issue is reachable by an administrator, which still matters on multi-site because a sub-site administrator may not be allowed to read network-wide configuration secrets. CVE 2026-75798 is medium severity but operationally important. A missing authorization check can allow unauthenticated attackers to run AI queries against the site owner's configured provider account. Upgrade to AI Engine 3.7.2 or later. Disable public API features you do not need, rotate keys if sensitive files could have been exposed, and review AI provider billing and request logs for unexpected usage. Fifth, CVE 2026-81486 covers MCP File Context Server 1.0.0. NVD reports a remotely reachable path traversal in the read_context function and notes that public exploit material exists while the project had not responded at the time of the record. The severity is medium at 5.5, but the exposure pattern is familiar. An MCP file tool is designed to give context to a model, and a path traversal flaw can expand that context to files the operator never intended to share. If this tool is running in a lab, a personal machine, or a server with customer or source code material, take it off the public internet, sandbox its file system, and monitor the upstream issue before restoring trust. Here is the broader pattern across all 6 items. The confirmed facts are about access control, SSRF, path traversal, and file reads. The analysis is that AI wrappers make those old vulnerability classes more consequential because tool output can become model context, provider accounts can become cost centers, and device compromise can sit close to real-world operations. The uncertainty is exploit prevalence. These records do not prove mass exploitation by themselves. So do not panic, but do act. Inventory AI tools, MCP servers, WordPress AI plugins, and Edge AI appliances. Patch UniFi AI Key according to Bulletin 067, replace or constrain mcp-fetch, harden Mage AI, update AI Engine, and sandbox file context MCP tools. The boring controls win: authentication, least privilege, egress allow lists, secrets isolation, and logs that tell you what tools actually touched.